This is Rob Tebbutt reporting for Boxing Social. I'm delighted to be joined by a very chipper-looking Frank Warren. How are you doing today, Frank?
I'm good, Rob. Yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. Not as well as you by the looks of things.
Well, I'm a happy camper at the moment.
Had yourself a good weekend in Leeds?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. We had a fantastic fight, fantastic atmosphere, fantastic crowd, and a fantastic win for my man.
Your man, Josh Warrington, as we just spoke about off camera, I think you're probably the only person, obviously you're the promoter, but I think you're the only person who actually picked Josh to come through the fight and win the fight. How relieved or how does it feel knowing that you're now in possession of the IBF featherweight champion of the world?
Well, I'm pleased, obviously, from the promotion's point of view, but I'm really pleased for Josh and his dad and his manager, Steve Wood. I mean, between all of us, we've done a fantastic job together. But I always had confidence in Josh. And certainly after his last fight, the fight before he fought Lee Selby, and looking at Lee Selby's fight, I just felt that was his moment in time. I felt that the timing was right. Let's go for it. And remember, it's not something we just jumped into. We planned it. We got Josh in a position to have a final eliminator for the IBF title. Got him into a position where he was going to be the mandatory challenger, and that was our plan. And thankfully it worked out.
Well, what do they say? The best laid plans.
Best laid plans. They worked out this time.
Fantastic. Obviously, such a gruelling fight, battle-hardened, bruising encounter between Warrington and Selby. Does that kind of put the skids on Warrington versus Frampton? I know Frampton's got the date for August. I understand that's probably not going to be the case now.
Yeah, Josh needs a break. It's not just about the fight. The fight was grueling, but it's a training camp. And you don't want the guys being stale. So Carl Frampton will fight on the 18th. We're working on the opponent. He'll either defend his interim WBO interim title or hopefully may even fight for another title if one of the guys are available. So we're working on that, and I'd like to get Josh out sometime in September, and then thereafter get the two guys together, which will be a burster, it'll be a great fight, provided they win their respective fights.
With Carl Frampton obviously penciled in for Windsor Park, without having Josh Warrington as a dance partner, does that kind of leave you a little bit in a quandary with regards to an opponent?
Well, not really. I mean, most people felt that Selby was going to win, and that was where that fight was going to happen. But even if Selby had won that fight, with the cuts that he had, it was never going to happen. So, we're working on delivering Carl's dream, which is the fight at Windsor Park. We will have a good fight there. Carl's not a guy who shirks and looks for knockovers. He'll have a guy with a good record in front of him, and it will be I think a tough night for him, but he's a great fighter. He'll come for it. And then obviously we've got a big card lined up there. We haven't said who else is fighting on the show, so it's going to be a big night. And the bottom line is, if him and Josh come through, as I said, their respective fights, then we've got a mouth-watering. Well, you can imagine the atmosphere. Belfast versus Leeds. What a night that's going to be, and the fans. It's going to be something special. But as you say, best laid plans and so forth, we've got to make sure they come through.
They mentioned the fans. I mean, they're both huge ticket sellers. I can just see the glint in your eyes over there, Frank. Where would that fight take place? Somebody mentioned to me the other day, well, who's the A side in that fight? I mean, it's kind of a lot closer than certainly 18 months ago people would think. If that fight were to take place, is it Belfast? Is it Leeds? Is it neutral ground?
Well, that we've got to work on. It's all about availabilities. If it takes place in the winter, then there's no soccer stadiums you can go to, obviously because of the weather and the football teams on. It's two A fighters. There'll be two blue corners. That's how it's going to be. We'll be spinning coins, see who's coming in first, who's coming in second. All those things happen. But whatever happens, irrespective of that, they've got great support, great fan base, which is great. Certainly for the financial aspects of the fight, but it's also great for the atmosphere and for the fans and people watching it at home on BT. It's going to be a fantastic, fantastic night.
Great for the man who promotes both of them too.
Well, it certainly is, but we worked hard to make it happen. We invested our time and effort into both the guys, and I always felt that at the end of the day, their paths will cross, and when they cross, you're seeing two guys at the top of the game. This is not like old washed-up fight against the new kid on the block, the same as it wasn't for Josh in his last fight. Selby was top of the game. I mean, most people thought it was going to be a walk in the park for Selby. Some of the previews I read, it's like styles make fights, and Josh's style is made for Lee Selby. It works out the other way round.
Speaking of Lee Selby, as I understand it, that was the last of his agreed deal with you. Where does that leave you now with Lee Selby? Is that something that you're going to be looking to revisit in the future?
I like Lee's. I like Lee. He's a nice guy. He's obviously a great warrior. He's been there, done it, and whatever. He said, I've not spoken to him, but I've read that he's talking about he's going up in weight, and if he goes up in weight, then fantastic. That's great for him, and we're quite interested in being involved. We'll see what happens.
Just moving away from this last weekend, we can't dwell on it forever, Frank, as much as it was a fantastic night. Daniel Dubois versus Tom Little, English heavyweight title on the undercard of Billy Joe Saunders versus Martin Murray. Great fight.
Fantastic fight. It's a step up for Daniel. Tom's a very experienced guy. He's 30 years of age. He's been in with some good fighters, and he's one thing about him. He's not going to go looking for him. He's a tough guy. He comes from the same area as Billy Joe Saunders, so he's going to have a lot of support there on the night, and he fancies the job. He's talked about at the press conference about coming out, standing toe-to-toe with Daniel. So it's going to be a shootout, and I think it will be a tough fight for Daniel, but I believe in him, and I hope this is going to be more experience for him, and which will help him on his quest to become the youngest ever world champion.
I mean, Tom Little is somebody who's been around a lot, fought Filip Hrgovic away from home in his last bout. I think we saw something a little bit different in the head-to-head today. I think we saw, as you say, they didn't want to lose the eye contact. There was a little bit of macho in there. I've not seen that from Daniel before.
He's got this sort of steely resolve. I mean, I think with him, I do my talking in the ring. That's how it is. He sits there, he's calm, cool. For a 20-year-old, with the amount of fights that he's had at senior level, 7 fights at senior level as an amateur, and the amount of pro fights he's had, he's just the coolest dude out there. He just revels in it. He loves it. He just wants to be. He wants to fight. That's all he asks for all the time. When am I fighting? That's the mentality he's got, and he looks at all these fights as just the way forward to get his dream to become world champion. As I mentioned earlier, that's where he's at. I don't think he gets fazed by anything.
Tom Little also spoke about sparring with a certain Tyson Fury, who is obviously now under your banner, returns to the ring in a couple of weeks in Manchester. Have you spoke to Tyson about Tom Little at all? Yeah,
he actually said, why don't you make the fight? Make it. It'll be a great fight. And he's friends with him. And obviously he wanted it. He wanted the fight. He wanted us to make the fight, as did quite a few people. And more importantly, the one who wanted it was Tom. And he's been calling it out forever. And as I say, with Daniel, he doesn't shy away from anything. Yeah, let's do it.
Billy Joe obviously headlines the bill, had to be moved back because of a hand injury. Have you spoke to Billy Joe recently?
I spoke to him a couple of days ago. He's training. He's abroad at the moment in Tenerife, so he's training hard. He's got the bit between his teeth, and he's got his eye on what's happening on the 15th of September in the States with Canelo and Golovkin. Will that fight happen?
What do you make of Canelo's suspension, shall we call it? He returns to the ring in September. It's all a little bit convenient, in my opinion.
Well, it's very convenient, and I don't like the idea of, that type of ban. Canelo, he's one of those guys fights twice a year on the Mexican holidays, so it's twice a year. So in effect, it's not a ban, is it? It's retrospective to when he was caught or found positive. And it's all pretty convenient that he's there to it. But anyway, look, we're not the governing body. We don't agree with it, but it is what it is. Bill, and I don't want to get accused of this, and I'm sure he'll come and kick my backside if I do. Martin Murray's got other ideas on this, and I like Martin. I've got a lot of respect for him and what he's done in boxing. He's one of them unlucky individuals. On going on the road, he could have come back being a world champion twice. Very debatable decisions, close decisions, but he fancies the job. So Bill, as much as we talk about what's going to happen in September, the most important thing is what's going to happen on the 23rd of June. He won't disrespect or disregard Martin Murray's challenge. Martin, he knows it's his big chance to grab a world title, so he's going to be in there. And but Bill, as Bill said, if he can't beat Martin Murray, he shouldn't be talking about fighting Canelos and Golovkins. So that's going to be a good show on the 23rd, and then hopefully we'll see if it all goes to Bill thinks it's going to go to plan. Then we'll be looking for a huge fight for Bill.
What date can you give me on Liam Smith versus Jamie Munguia? Is Munguia? I'm not too sure about how the pronunciation.
I think it's you say Maguire, I say Maguire. It's going to be WBO. I've already put it out. We got 30 days to negotiate. I've been talking to Golden Boy. That fight, we've had just over 3 weeks of the negotiation period. So I think we'll do a deal very quickly, and I think that fight will happen in July.
Okay, and just lastly, Frank, I'd like to get your opinion, if I can, on this whole Joshua Wilder nonsense that's been going on in the media. What's your view as somebody who is far removed from what's happening? There's been a lot of talk of deals and offers and what have you. Talk to me, Frank. Tell me your opinion.
Well, I talked to Shelley Finkel quite a bit because we just done a deal with Willie Hutchinson, and I talked to Lou DiBella, and their offer was a genuine offer. So, and just to tell you what the offer was, it was a guaranteed $50 million against. If it generated more money, so he was guaranteed to get 50. What happened? If it really went through, it was a burst that went through the gates, he would have got 60, but he's guaranteed 50. With a rematch clause, of a guarantee of 30 million. So Anthony Joshua has a guarantee in 2 fights of $80 million. That's huge money. So I've seen the stuff that he said he doesn't want to go to the States because he's fans and all that stuff. I think the fans would love to have gone to Vegas, like Ricky Hatton's fans would love to have gone to Vegas. To walk away from that money, it can only be because, I assume, that the promoters that he's working with at the moment, Matchroom, they've done this big deal they talked about and all this billions they've got, but they're obviously going to guarantee him that he's going to get $80 million for his next two fights. Otherwise, why would you turn it down? Or you come in with a huge offer to Wilder to make the fight. Or you don't fancy the fight. There's 2 ways fights don't happen. You price yourself out of it, or you don't want it, and you look for a way out to say you don't want the fight. I don't think they want the fight, in my opinion, but maybe I'm wrong. The fans want it. Wilder certainly wants it. His management want it. That was a genuine offer. It's not a rubbish offer. It's a genuine offer coming from serious people in the business. So let's now see what does happen. It's a fight we all want to see. I want to see those two get it on so we can get it all ready for next year for Tyson Fury to fight the winner and then get the belts back.
Nice little plug there, Frank. Last week it seemed like everybody asked you about this deal with DAZN, and obviously you had your big show at the weekend, so you're kind of non-committal on it. What are your thoughts on it now that you've got your big show out of the way? What are your thoughts on the DAZN deal with Matchroom USA?
I don't know what it is. They're starting from scratch. But the difference is they're starting from scratch with no subscribers out there, but they've got a company that's got quite a bit of money. So they've got to pull that money up, and these offers, using as a case point, Joshua, should be no problem giving him 50 million out of $1 billion. Guaranteed him the 50 million to match the other guy. He don't want to be out of pocket, do you? So I'm quite sure they can find that money, considering all the dough they've got, or they say they've got. They're trying something. They're going to work on something, and they're going to put their money up. The States is not an easy market. What I look at, it's all very well saying we're going to do this and do that. How many big name fighters are out there that are the equivalent of being American pay-per-view fighters? There's only a few of them, and they're all tied up with promoters and have deals. So it's a challenge. And I hope, and for me, it's great though, because it creates even more content. We've got people, we're saying to our lot now who we work with, look at this, you've got to step up. I love it. I've always strived on competition. Listen, we ain't done bad, have we? We didn't come in with no $1 billion deal. We did our Box Nation, built it, struggled like you can't believe with finances to get it over the line. Hearn's always keeps talking about, go and look at their books, go to the company's house. What fans want to go to the company house? All fans are interested in. Fans are interested in fights. They want to know about the rest of the stuff. Go and look at, I think if you go and look at Perform Group, I think their accounts, they've invested a lot of money, and I don't think they've been showing great profits. Sky, for how many years? I don't think they showed a profit, Sky, for about 5 or 6 years. They lost money continually establishing their business. That's how it is. The fighters want big money. They want to get it. Hearn's in a position now, according to Matchroom, having this big deal, to deliver huge purses, starting off with their jewel in the crown. So Daniel Dubois' next 2 fights, he's got to be guaranteed $80 million, because that was what was on the table. So out of that $1 billion, $80 million, so it's nothing, is it? It's just a drop in the bath. So I'm quite sure that Daniel's got to be Daniel. Anthony's got to be rubbing his. See, Daniel, that's a Freudian slip. I think he's going to be in that position soon. Anthony's in a position where it's a great position. Next fight, I'm not getting 80 million for them, so I'm going to get it from here. I'm happy as Larry. Don't get any better than that, because this company's got $1 billion to put into it.
From a promoter's point of view, when you announce that you've got $1 billion in your pocket, does that just raise the price of everything? It would seem that way to me.
Well, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, you can have $1 billion in your pocket, but you've got to make it work. It's got to deliver, isn't it? So that's what the name of the game is: delivery. It's all investment. People invest. We've all invested over the years in things. Matchroom are forever talking about how much profits they make from boxing. They make. I mean, they don't leave a stone unturned, do they? StubHub, they make money out of that. They just every post is a winning post. So they got all that dough there, as they keep banging on about, to invest into the sport. What we're doing, we are investing. I invested in Josh Warrington, who came to me, having not been able to get what he wanted to get from Matchroom, came to me, and we invested in him. We didn't just say, let's just make a fight against Lee Selby because I fancy him winning. What we done with that fight was to get Josh in a position through investing in final eliminators to get him into the number one spot, because I fancied that fight all along. We put our man in that position. A big investment for us, but we did it. And that's what boxing's all about. We don't shy away from any challenge. Our focus with the fighters that are on side with us. I think we're pretty good at what we're doing, and we, for all the monies and everything that's been been bandied about, we haven't done bad. And the guys are coming to us. They're disregarding the other side and coming over and signing with us because we deliver.
Did the Warrington victory make it all the sweeter, knowing that he came from Matchroom?
Well, it makes it all the sweet. Look, that's part of it. And I mean, to be honest, that's a very small part. What it makes it sweeter for me is Josh is such a nice guy. He's been like Carl Frampton, great guys to work, fantastic guys to work. And they were the guys. I remember at Hearn years ago, Carl Frampton doesn't deliver an audience. He doesn't. Go and dig out the quotes. He doesn't do any numbers. He doesn't. Nobody wants to see him. Josh Warrington, he won't do it. He ain't going nowhere. These two guys, 25,000 tickets. So 25 there and two sellouts. You want to look at it. 25,000 tickets, and what we've done in Ireland, sell out over there with Carl. Two guys who come through, have done brilliantly. It's my mate over there, Neil Warnock. I know. Yeah, two really, guys who came with us, and we delivered for them, and we did what we're good at: build and promote, and that's what we did. We built them, promoted them, and now got an event with these two guys sitting there, waiting to fight each other, which is going to be something really big.
And just lastly, because there's a queue of people just ganging up to speak to you, because you're so happy today, you're so chipper. Lastly.
Always happy.
That's not what I meant, and you know it. Anthony Yarde. I actually caught up with Anthony yesterday at the gym, looking in terrific fettle as always. He returns on this card on June the 23rd. Seemed to me from speaking to Tunde and Anthony that he's somewhat there to be let off the leash. They actually mentioned Adonis Stevenson. I don't know what you can tell me about that.
Well, I spoke to Tunde about a week ago, and we've always had our plan. And again, he's a guy who's not had I'll say this a million times, not had a vast amount of amateur experience, 12 fights, and he's had the pro fights he's had. So he needs a bit more, and then we're ready to let him go. And he's a superb athlete. He's got great attitude, and I think he's going to go from strength to strength. He's got a game. It's another fight for him. It's another fight that we'll hope will give him some great experience, and then we'll let him off. We've got him in the number 2 position in the world.
Okay, well, Frank Warren, it's always a pleasure catching up to you.
I thought you were going to be asking me about this offer from Hearn regarding Sunday and everything.
With you've caught me on the hop.
I'm trying to do use my bit of journalistic license.
Are you taking my job?
No, I've got a column in newspaper, so I can have a little bit of journalistic license. Now, what do I think about that one, seeing as I asked? Well, the bottom line of that is, Hearns, with all that money he's got 3 fighters that he can make. He can make Callum Johnson against Hosea Burton, because Burton's now left, Joe Gallagher, so there's no conflict there. And he's got the other guy, isn't he? The other cruiserweight he's got, Buatsi. course. Well, now if those three fighters were me, they'd all be fighting each other, and let's find out who's the best out of those three. Now, the winner can come and fight Anthony Yarde for his number 2, maybe his number 1 position by then.
Josh Buatsy's actually been talking about Anthony Yarde. Spoke to them yesterday. Anthony Yarde told me that he would like that fight next.
I'm sure he would, and I haven't got a problem with it. But you know what? Let them all go and fight each other. I want to see them. But if I was their managers, I'd be saying to anyone, you know those billions, that $1 billion there, come and pull it up. We've got a great tournament between us three, and the winner can fight Anthony Yarde.
You're just a man of so many talents, Frank. Well,
that's not what my wife says.
Okay, well, thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Thanks for speaking to me. Look forward to catching up with you soon, Frank Warren.
Thanks, Rob.
Cheers, mate.